And you know as the clock ticks away, you're going to be closer and closer to your fear. You're probably going to be sat there in a huge amount of anxiety. I decided that's it, I'm going to kill myself. It all starts up here in the brain, right? And that is the most powerful tool that you have in your life and in this world. And as you progress through this process, you're going to have loads of these wins. You can have loads of these awesome, amazing moments where you actually surprise yourself in what you're capable of and what you can do. What is up, people? Welcome back to Satori Graphics, the home of graphic design content right here on YouTube. Now, as you probably already guessed, today's video is going to be completely different to what I normally post here on this channel. If you are new here via this video today, just take note that my normal content is graphic design tutorials and graphic design related videos. But today, I have a completely different video because I feel I have a very important message that needs to be said. And also, if you are a loyal subscriber and viewer, don't worry, this is not going to be a regular thing here on this channel. I'm just doing this as a one-off because I have something to tell you guys and to share to the YouTube community. Now that I've got quite a following here on YouTube, I think it's my duty to help other people where I can and where possible. So that's why today I'm going to get really personal and I'm going to share with you guys my experience with social anxiety and anxiety disorders in general and how I literally saved my life. So if you're currently struggling with an anxiety disorder, or you know somebody that is, stay tuned and listen to the entirety of my video today so you can educate yourself on what anxiety disorders are and how to combat them. Even if you're not someone who experiences social anxiety or anxiety disorders, I think it's important you educate yourself on important topics just like this one, because you never know who you're going to meet and who you're going to spend your life with in the future. Before we start, just a quick rundown on what I'm going to be doing in today's video. First and foremost, I'm going to briefly outline what the difference between anxiety and an anxiety disorder is. Then I'm going to go into my personal experience and my life growing up as a teenager, a child, and into adult life with anxiety disorders. That's going to include how I nearly killed myself and died multiple times, and how I saved my own life. So you can do the same and rid yourself of this horrible afflictive disorder known as anxiety. Okay, so anxiety. Most of us experience anxiety in some shape or form from our day-to-day life. I think it's only sociopaths or extreme sociopaths who do not feel anxiety. I know some people out there are going to think that anxiety disorders are overblown and exaggerated and not much of an issue. I'm here to tell you today that's completely wrong, and that's pretty ignorant actually. Imagine your worst fear. It could be anything. What is your worst fear? Just think about that right now as you watch this video. If it's something like fear of flying, just imagine that you're sat in the departure lounge in the airport and you're sat there and you're looking out of the window and you can see that plane waiting for you, and you know as the clock ticks away, you're going to be closer and closer to your fear. You're probably going to be sat there in a huge amount of anxiety. Now imagine that feeling, imagine that cold rush of fear that envelopes your body. Having anxiety disorders is much like having that feeling throughout the entire day, all day, every day. Now it's not going to be up to like 10 maximum throughout the whole day. You might be at like a 3 or 8, 5, but it's going to be there throughout the entire day. When someone is anxious, their heart races a lot faster and their body produces a lot of adrenaline, which is of course a result of that fight or flight response when being threatened or anxious. People with anxiety experience this constantly all day, every single day. Another good analogy is that imagine how many times you cough in a day. You might just cough 2 or 3 times, throughout the day randomly. And at the end of that day, when you look back, you barely remember coughing at all, it's insignificant, it's trivial, it's just a cough. But imagine if you coughed every 5 seconds throughout the entire day. Now that cough is going to be the focal point of your life and your day, and it's going to completely ruin everything. It's like anxiety. Some people have anxiety just 2 or 3 times in their day, but people with anxiety disorder have it throughout the entire day. That's why it's so debilitating and it's so hard to deal with when you have an anxiety disorder. So that was telling you guys what anxiety is and how it's different from an anxiety disorder. And now I'm going to go into my life and my experiences with anxiety, depression, drugs and alcohol and everything that goes with it. And at the very end, of course, the most important part, which is telling you guys how I dealt with it and how I saved my life and how you can do the very same. Now there are a lot of facts out there and information online about anxiety disorders. I'm going to drop loads of links down in the description below for you to check out and read yourself. There are things that suggest that anxiety disorders may very well be handed down, genetically speaking, from our parents. But there are bound to be many different factors involved, and there are many different factors involved with my own personal experience with anxiety disorders. Now, I've got 2 different disorders, which is pretty unlucky, but it just is what it is. I have hypochondria, which is the irrational fear that you're dying or you're sick or have some kind of illness. And the other one that I've had to deal with is social anxiety. The first red flag for my parents was when at the age of 12, I was obsessed with the fact that I might actually have a brain tumor, brain cancer or something like that. I'm not sure if it was my anxiety that caused the symptoms or the symptoms that caused the anxiety, but I started to get migraines and headaches, and I don't know why, but I got into my head that I had brain cancer. So I went to the doctor, and the doctor said I was fine, and then that was that. However, a few weeks later, my mind, my irrational, overactive mind, moved to another illness, and I started to think I was dying from something else. Now this might sound completely stupid to you guys, and essentially it is kind of stupid, but someone with social anxiety or hypochondria or any kind of anxiety disorder, they often have an overactive mind that doesn't turn off, it doesn't switch off. It keeps striving to think and think and think and overanalyzing certain details. When you have hypochondria, you literally are convinced that you have some kind of illness that's terminal or deadly, and I've had so many issues with this in my past growing up. I cannot count how many times I've been to the doctor to get tested for something and it turns out I'm actually fine. And again, it might sound silly, but to the person who's suffering from hypochondria, they literally are convinced of this. So they can't sleep, they can't eat properly, everything they do in their day-to-day life is centered around this notion that they're dying. Imagine that, imagine you're thinking you're dying day in, day out. It's really, really horrible, and it's caused me a lot of depression and anxiety in the past. In fact, it all came to a head when I was around 17 years old. I couldn't deal with this anymore, like the whole process of thinking I'm ill, focusing on something, focusing on a symptom, going to the doctor, it turned out to be nothing, and then moving on to the next symptom, and the next problem. And I actually was drunk one night by myself. I was really, really depressed, I was really down with this whole hypochondria situation. I decided that's it, I'm going to kill myself. So what I did was, I was in my bedroom above my mum's house, and I was drinking alcohol like I said, and I started to write my suicide note. I started to cry, I started to write my suicide note. And I had, in my mind, I knew which building I was going to go to. I knew which building I was going to jump from. It was just a case of doing it. So I wrote out the letter, and I was just about to stand up and leave when my phone rang, and it was my girlfriend at the time. And I hadn't called or texted her, she just randomly was like checking in on me to see if I was okay. And she managed to talk me out of it. She managed to talk me down from going to kill myself, which is, it's both crazy and it's awesome how she saved my life without even realizing it. But yeah, there are some very, very low moments in one's life when you have an anxiety disorder. And that was just one of just countless times that I've been very, very depressed and down with hypochondria or social anxiety. Now, I want to talk about self-medicating because a very, very high percentage of people with anxiety disorder will choose to self-medicate. If they're conscious of this or they do it subconsciously, it happens in a high percent. I think it's around 80% of people self-medicate with this. Now that could be via alcohol or it could be via drugs. And I myself ended up doing this. I ended up doing both of those myself. From the age of 15, I started drinking alcohol and smoking weed and stuff like that. And I'm going to talk about medications in the later part of this video. But to keep it simple, you really want to work towards not depending on any external factors for your own happiness and to battle social anxiety or anxiety disorders in general. So that means not depending on pills, not depending on alcohol, not depending on something like that. You need to work on it from within. I'm going to talk about how to do that later in today's video. But yeah, social anxiety came around 16, 17 years old. I had a combination of hypochondria and social anxiety. There was one point when I stayed inside my house for 4 months without ever going out once at all. Just imagine that, it's like being imprisoned. It's just like being imprisoned in your own house. That's no way to live your life. And remember, I'm going to tell you guys how to deal with social anxiety and anxiety disorders at the end of this video. So I hope you guys are having a better understanding of how social anxiety or anxiety disorders and how they affect people who are stuck with this burden in their life. It's not their fault, they can't just simply wake up one day and stop and turn it off. That's not how it works. They're afflicted with this mental thinking and this thought processes in the brain. Now to briefly touch upon medication, I don't want to give you advice to tell you not to take your medication if you're actually prescribed something like Xanax, Valium, which is also known as diazepam, clonazepam, all of these medications. I'm not going to tell you just to stop taking them right now, but you really do need to work towards not using them at some point in your life. Because let me tell you this, folks, I was taking huge amounts of diazepam. I was taking 400 milligrams a day, which is 40 of those blue pills. I'm going to post some pictures on this video of what I was taking medication wise. I say medication. Basically what it does is it covers up the problem or the symptoms. It doesn't actually address the root cause of that problem. It just covers it up to manifest, to grow, and to come out later in your life in a bigger and more dramatic way. You shouldn't be looking to using a crutch for your anxiety disorder, because you cannot be doing that for your entire life. And the problem with medications such as benzodiazepines is that you're going to build a tolerance to them if you take them daily. That's what happened to me. I started off taking like 20 milligrams of Valium a day, and within a year I was up to 400 milligrams a day. Imagine taking 40 tablets a day. That's what I was doing. But the worst part of it is, once your body becomes physically addicted to these medications and you build your tolerance, they actually become counterproductive. I actually found that I was actually hugely anxious on these higher doses of medications. They turn you into a zombie because they work on your GABA receptors in your brain and it slows down your brain function. Basically, it's quelling any anxiety because your brain doesn't function properly anymore. It turns you into a walking, talking zombie. Your memory goes like that. I mean, I've had friends who said to me, I kept repeating the same thing over and over and over again, and I kept forgetting. My memory was like a goldfish, basically. I had a goldfish memory, and that's no way to live your life. And sure, when I started taking them initially, it was amazing. It was like a magic, wonderful pill. I took it and my anxiety was just gone. But you can't be doing that every single day, because you're going to turn into a zombie and your body will become addicted to it within about no more than 6 months, maximum 6 months. You're going to be addicted to these medications if you take them on a daily basis. But the really, really crucial, important thing here is I found that around 80% of doctors either do not know the side effects of these medications known as benzodiazepines, or they don't care. Now, if you're taking medications such as opiates for pain, like physical pain, you can just stop taking those and you might feel a bit groggy for 2-3 days. But with benzodiazepines such as Valium, if you just stop taking them, you can have a whole host of negative withdrawal side effects. And I've experienced nearly all of them in this list that I'm going to show you on screen and linked in the description below. They are horrible. It is just the worst torture I've ever gone through, and I probably think it's worse than the anxiety disorder itself. People in the field of pharmaceuticals and medicine say that the withdrawal from Valium, for example, is a lot worse than the withdrawal from heroin. But if you just cut short your Valium or benzodiazepine use, you can actually have seizures and a whole host of other negative side effects. And that's what happened to me. Again, my life was saved by a girlfriend when I was around 22. I'd read online about these medications for general anxiety disorder, and I knew I needed to stop them. But I was taking 200, 400 milligrams of Valium a day. I just cut that short. And I don't remember much of what happened on that day, but my girlfriend came home from work for lunch, and often she doesn't do that, so it was quite weird this happened, and she found me on the floor with white foam coming from my mouth. I'd had a seizure because I cut short the medication and my brain just fried. My brain just went into shock. And I was lucky to survive that actually. And that's why you should not just stop your medications if you are taking them. You need to taper off gradually. I actually took down 5 milligram every single week until I got down to 0, which took a long time, coming down from 400 milligram a day. So that's a bit about the medication side of things. And now I'm going to talk to you about how to actually deal with anxiety and anxiety disorders in a natural, helpful manner that is going to improve your life a huge amount if you are dealing with anxiety disorders. So, how did I go from being a completely and utterly nervous wreck, riddled with social anxiety and hypochondria? I'm going to tell you exactly right now how I did that. So firstly, the most important thing that I think you need to do if you do have social anxiety or other forms of anxiety disorder is that you need to work towards getting sober. You need to have a clear mind. If you're taking medications that I previously spoke about daily, try and taper off of them, and then when you're actually off of them, use them only when necessary in certain situations when you might have like a major panic attack. I myself have not taken Valium or any kind of medications to do with anxiety disorder for 2 years now. Why do I say that you need to have a clear mind? Because you need to address the root cause of your problem, which is going to be within. And to do that, you need to be yourself and you need to be thinking straight and clearly. But not only that, every single point that I'm going to go into now on how to deal with anxiety disorders are going to work together as a part of a system, and each and every single point complements the other. It's basically being healthy physically and mentally. And that's going to give yourself the best platform for working on your disorders. So like I said, start to taper off these medications if you're using them. But also I must say, you have to talk to your doctor about this. Do your research on these medications themselves, and then let your doctor know your worries and your concerns about taking these medications. So when you have a clear mind, you need to start focusing on your health. Because I feel that having a healthy mind and having a healthy body is essential for overall well-being and anxiety-free life. Where it's not going to be anxiety-free. You are going to still get anxiety, but it's not going to be at the levels that it used to be. And when it does happen, you're going to know how to deal with it properly. So what I first started doing was, I started exercising at home. I just bought some dumbbells, I started doing press-ups, started like doing arm curls and stuff like that. And this really does help because there's actually science that proves exercise literally rewires your brain in something called brain plasticity. Now this is great because it does it in a positive way, and it teaches you to address problems in a different way than it used to. Not only that, but exercise releases all kind of endorphins and like things like dopamine, which make you really happy and have a better sense of well-being. All of these points I'm going to give to you now are just little steps towards not having anxiety disorders in your life. And you need to take baby steps, guys. It's not going to happen overnight. It's not even going to happen in 1 month. It's going to be a gradual process when you move forward, improve, and level up each and every single time. So yeah, start exercising at home. If you're like me and you had social anxiety, you're not going to want to run into a gym just like, the glory exercise god. That's not going to happen. So start exercising at home, or maybe just go for a run around the street at night or in the evening or something like that. But get yourself exercising and in a routine where you're working out. I did eventually get to go to a small public gym, but also for you people out there who have social anxiety, when you start to see yourself getting stronger, getting bigger, getting more, dare I say, sexy, it's really going to boost your confidence. And that's a great thing for dealing with anxiety disorder, is having more confidence. In fact, it might be one of the most important things in my opinion, but it's not the only thing. You need to also focus on other things I'm going to tell you now. So yeah, exercise is really, really important. Just get into a routine and get it done. The next thing is diets. Now, this of course isn't just for your mental health, it goes for health in general. But like I said, they all tie in together. So start trying to eat healthy whole foods. Foods that fill you up, and foods that have high nutrition values like vitamins, fiber, all the good stuff. This is really, really important for a better life and a better well-being in the long run. And the next one is a really, really big one, and that is meditation. I'm going to drop some more links down in the description below for you to check out meditation. But meditation is crucial for understanding who you are as a person, understanding what your brain is and how it functions. Because let's face it guys, everything we do in our life, everything we feel, everything we say and do, it all starts up here in the brain, right? And that is the most powerful tool that you have in your life and in this world. That's where your anxiety comes from. You create your anxiety. It's not someone else creating it for you. It's how you respond to the world outside. And that all starts in here. So you need to start meditating. You need to start getting down to the core roots of your problem, but also understanding consciousness and how your mind functions. When you start to understand how your mind functions, you can start to address the problems that you will face in your life and your day-to-day activities. And I didn't really do this myself. I was suggested to by my mum, but going to CBT therapy, with a counselor, can help, and it does help a lot of people. But I think you should use this in complement to everything else that I'm talking about today. Just talking to someone you trust about your problems really does help, but you need to do all of the things I'm telling you together as a group. But yeah, you can see the trend that I'm putting to you guys today. Little steps, focusing on exercise, focusing on diet, focusing on meditation and consciousness, and dealing with your problems in a sober and straightforward manner. You can do it. You can beat your anxiety disorder. It's possible. I never thought I would be in this position that I'm in now, sitting in front of a camera talking to you guys. I was one of those people who was so socially anxious and socially awkward. I used to hate getting my picture taken, for example. I used to hate just walking down the street and people walking the other way. And what I'm telling you about small baby steps is that it might be something as small as walking into the store, buying something, standing in line. And then once you actually leave the store, you can watch your anxiety go up whilst you're in the store. And then if you prolong that anxiety, you'll notice that it will start to fade. Nothing is permanent, and this is what meditation teaches you. Nothing is permanent and forever. Your anxiety will go up and it will come down. But when you have a win, when you actually do something you never thought you would do before, such as standing in line at the store and not freaking out, you feel so awesome afterwards. You feel like you're on top of the world. Seriously, you feel awesome. And as you progress through this process, you're going to have loads of these wins. You can have loads of these awesome, amazing moments where you actually surprise yourself in what you're capable of and what you can do. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed today's video, guys. It was a bit different from my normal content, but I felt I had to get this message out there and help people who are struggling with social or anxiety disorders, because I know how bad, I know how terrible, I know how evil it can be. It was a bane on my existence, and it was a very, very dark and twisted time of my life. If you have any questions, pop them down in the comment section below. Check out all the links in the description of this video to educate yourself on social anxiety, meditation, the medications, all of these things, all that good stuff. And also, if you do find this information useful, go ahead and share it on social media so other people can see it and help themselves with anxiety disorders. I'm going to be back tomorrow with more graphic design content, and for those people who are subscribed to my channel for graphic design content, don't worry, this is not going to be a regular thing. I just really need to make this video today. But yeah, overcome your anxiety disorders step by step and have a great and positive life. Until next time, design your future today. Peace.